Well, good morning from Huntsville, Alabama.
As always, or as usually, I
As
guess.
usually, because sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're in Florida.
Florida. Don't you wish we were in Florida right now?
I do. I think the new camera's running.
As the
Do
rain.
we look clearer?
Oh,
I think we do look clear.
yeah.
We normally look soft and gray.
And the camera.
We look like grits normally.
You have a filter that has put you in the forefront now, right?
Well, I'm just trying to move back since you're in the easy chair and slouching.
My Mr. Rogers moment.
Of course,
it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I'm going to take
Taking
my
off
shoes
the-
off.
I'm going to take my sweater off.
Ah, good times.
Hey, I saw. Speaking of, I can do this educational moment like Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
I want to tell you something about spiders, Mr. Bruce.
I feel like Mr. Green Jeans all of a sudden. All right. Tell me about spiders, Raj.
So I saw this, which may come in, I don't know, maybe slightly helpful for your hiking excursions in the South, but I saw this piece that black widow spiders are in decline in some southern regions. That's the good news. Do you know why they are? Which is the bad news, perhaps?
They're getting eaten by the brown recluses that are going up.
Well, you're very, very close. They're actually, yes, they're being attacked and killed by brown widow spiders. But
Which are far more deadly.
Well, they aren't as serious, so that's the residual good news.
That's double good news.
But what caught my attention was they said, because in lab studies, listen to this, in lab studies, brown widow spiders were 6 times as likely to attack black widows when arachnids were put together. So they're creating spider fights.
They are.
They're putting arachnids in a controlled setting and seeing who will eat whom.
It's got 4 cornered rings to it. Is there a little bell that goes off?
I don't know. All I know
Ding.
is the black widow just needs to stay in his corner and not come out because he's getting killed by
it's her corner.
What are arachnids always her?
Well, the black widow is.
You say a widow, so is this
not the black widower, which would be a he. Black widow is the female. There is a black widow male, yes, that he gets killed as soon as they have sex.
Right.
Thus, the black widow.
And then after sex, she kills him.
Yep.
And then a brown widow comes in and
kills her. Right. That's why they decline. So it's not that the black widows are mating. It's just that post-matation, they're getting killed by brown widows. Now, here's how little I know about the outdoors, even though I'm in it a lot. I didn't know there was a brown widow. Never heard of such.
I didn't either, because when I was reading the piece, I was assuming in my brain filled in brown recluse, but I looked more closely and nope, sure enough, it was brown widow.
Brown widow. That's an odd, crazy thing.
I wonder if brown widows also, after sex, eat their partner.
I don't know. These are questions. These are the questions that came up in the book of Job. You know, when God asked Job all those questions, do you know why the black widow kills her partner after
intercourse?
Well, I was going to say that, but I don't even know what it is intercourse.
We don't want to get into a deep dive study of that. Hey, let's watch some videos of the spiders.
Well, apparently there's a spider fight channel now. You can put money down on.
You can watch
Vegas odds on the brown widow.
You can watch live lab tested events.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Called the Arachnid Wars.
What's the world coming to? Aren't you glad you joined the Pastords today?
I'm going to tell you what, you learned something about arachnids that you did not. Is that like the technical name for spiders? Is arachnids like
it's an arachnid.
8-legged things or whatever?
An insect being 6-legged and 3.
So I'm just picturing people in lab coats just dropping various arachnids Does this have 8 legs? Okay, yep, throw that in there.
See how it goes.
And
Oh, look at that one. He's just eating the other one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Take notes, Bob.
Spiders are always pretty spooky to me. Pretty creepy. I remember
Yeah.
when we were at the farm did you ever do this? We were at the farm in Murfreesboro.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
Where you would hit a fly, but you'd only stun it, and then you'd throw it in the spider web and watch the spider come down and just start rolling it.
Oh, they would. Oh, yes.
That is freaky.
No.
I'm like, and that's dinner for later.
No.
I'm like, bless his little heart.
Yep. No,
I think the fly would rather be, just smashed. But yeah, we would stun the fly because it has to be moving or the spider isn't going to come to it.
Right. No, I've never been this. Ooh, there was a song. I don't like spiders or snakes, but that ain't what it takes to love me the way I want to be loved by you.
Yeah, that's the only lyric from that song that I know. I don't know if there's.
I don't like spiders or snakes.
'Cause that ain't what it takes to love me the way I want to be loved by you.
Something like that.
Yes,
that one.
We did. We should probably work on our songs ahead of time. But the Pastords are always unscripted. And if we ever scripted a Pastord edition, then it would
lose. It would just lose all of its mojo. Yeah.
It would be scripted.
Yeah, right. People would be able to just tell that.
Hey,
people. Yeah.
Maria. Yep.
Maria, we're just proving our unscriptedness.
Yeah,
right?
Maria and I. So we did another webinar this week on the unmasked friendships in a post-pandemic world. I know, endemic, whatever. But we decided this time we're going to outthink the trolls. Okay. So we found a YouTube video, how to use Zoom meetings as a webinar. And there's all these things you have to check so that you can do the Zoom webinar. And of course, 5 minutes before the Zoom meeting that we're doing as a webinar, all the things that I'm supposed to be able to uncheck, I can't find them anywhere. They're not there. They're just not there. I can't uncheck anything. I'm like, oh no, here we go again.
This story cannot end well.
The good news is we had sent people a new link. It was so funny. We left the other link out there for the trolls. They were probably at 7 o'clock just getting ready. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. But
you sucker punched those trolls.
I did, but I sent to every legitimate email that I could discern. I sent them the link to the meeting, and we had a great meeting, and we learned that the only way to keep everyone's tiles from showing up on your screen, because we just want Marie and Bruce on the screen, you have to record to the cloud. I was recording to my computer, thus the disequilibrium, and we can't really record it with people's names all over it without their permission, and that's just awkward. So we're learning. I'm becoming a technologically savvy pastor.
No, don't say that. You are. That's. Oh, we're doomed.
No, we're even using a new camera today, Rod.
Oh no! Don't tempt fate. Oh, you're.
See, it's right there. That's why we look so clear, and you can more easily see the bags under my eyes now.
And people probably can't hear a word we're saying because the camera's spectacular, but sound is.
Just make sure that. Oh, I hope that was on the whole time. Plugged in, that would be just my luck today. So what was your segue into something biblical from the spiders?
Well, I don't have a segue. There's something that came to my mind, but I don't.
Well, nothing's coming to my mind,
All
so
right.
I think we should go with yours. Why don't you?
Whether it's spider related or not.
Why don't you unscript something?
Oh, Jesus' parable of the arachnid.
Kingdom of heaven.
It's like
a spider
who went on a journey
and lo, saw a brown widow on the side of the road.
Was set upon by a brown widow came and left to die by the roadside.
And along came some very religious
arachnids,
and they crossed by on the other side of the web
and left the black widow to die.
No, we've got to do something important.
Okay.
All right.
No, so this, as much as you read the Gospels, I'm wondering if this is something you've noticed before, because you're just
gospel guy.
I noticed something. So here we're in Luke.
Yep.
And I think it's Luke 7.
Luke 7.
So I just saw this fascinating little interchange that I had not noticed before. So there's a centurion who has a servant who is very, very ill.
Yep.
And it apparently looks like the person may die. Well, fascinatingly, it says that religious leaders, I don't know if it's the leaders of the synagogue or whatever, they learn about it. They go to Jesus.
Yep.
And what do they say?
They say, this guy is a friend of Israel. He's helped build our synagogue. Centurions being a Roman leader over 100 men, apparently had decent pay. And he was using some of his pay to help build their synagogue, if I remember. So
here's right. This is a friendly, this is
one of us.
So they say, this is what they said. Now, everything you said is correct. They said, he deserves for you to help him. He deserves for you to help him.
Roger, did it say the religious leaders came to Jesus?
It's
that I've never thought about this. The religious leaders never came to Jesus to get something done, helpful.
Right.
They always came to test him, to dismiss him.
And whether this was some local leaders versus maybe
the Jerusalem council leaders.
And it seems like maybe this is the local synagogue. So they come, because this is where the story gets interesting.
Okay.
I had made some assumptions, or I'd connected some dots in certain ways. So they say he deserves for you to. So Jesus heads for his house. The centurion discovers that Jesus is coming to his house, because it doesn't say that he asked the synagogue leaders to.
Right.
He sends out friends, and what do they?
He says, I don't deserve.
He says
him to come come to my house.
I don't deserve. He said, but I know how authority works.
Which is the whole reason Jesus was going to his house. Not because the religious leaders thought he deserved it, but because this centurion understood grace and authority better than the religious leaders.
Trusted and of course would be commended at the end of that story. Yes. He's
finish the story for
disturbingly, Jesus highly praises this Roman invader as having more faith than anyone he'd seen in Israel?
Anyone he's encountered in Israel.
Gosh. So anyway, aside from all that, but I was thinking about what struck me is how often, and same true in our world today, we operate out of the question of what people deserve. In other words, this is always on our radar.
Yeah.
How often we're thinking about what I deserve, what I don't deserve, what other people deserve, what they don't deserve. And so I got to think, is that a good way to live? What part of that's healthy? What part of that's not healthy? This question, which I'm curious so I'll just throw this at you, because I just think what do we deserve? I mean, so for instance, I'll look I hear this often. Advertisers, you're going to get the customer service you deserve. What do we deserve?
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple of questions behind the question.
Go in the question behind the question.
So, who are we? So, as a follower of Jesus and a friend of Jesus, I am, because of what Jesus did, I'm a son of God. So now I'm getting all sorts of benefits that I would say I don't deserve. It's just grace. It's why I think it's such a great book title. Brennan Manning's final book was I haven't even read it yet, but the title's so good. I think I just know what it's about. It's just all is grace. It's the idea that we don't deserve anything. Grace is by its nature unmerited favor. So in one sense, I don't deserve anything good that I get. In another sense, though, because of who I am, as a child of God, and he loves doing good things deserve. Yeah, it's all grace.
Except,
I mean, if I deserve anything, I deserve punishment, judgment, bad things. In the way that we understand crime and punishment.
Right. So I realize deserve seems to be significantly related to justice.
Yes, fairness.
But what's interesting is that does matter to God. So the reality that we use the idea of deserving seems to be flow from, in my mind, seems to flow from our sense of justice from God.
Right.
That there is that where
they're getting their just desserts.
Right. And we feel like justice should be served, which is you get something commensurate. So there's some part of thinking about fair that's thinking about what we deserve that is healthy, but it hit me. We don't really want to live in a world that's simply dominated by what we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
That, which is the beauty of God being full of justice and full of mercy. Justice and mercy. You wouldn't want a world without both. I think it might have been
mercy triumphs over justice.
Jesus
said, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice." Learn what this means. It's an interesting thing because they were very, tit for tat, keep the law. And Jesus said, "No, I desire mercy more than that."
So the idea is there's a place for the question of.
And here's the thing: there could be no mercy if there wasn't justice.
Exactly.
That you couldn't have mercy. Mercy is, in one sense, a response to justice, which says Bruce deserves punishment, but I'm going to extend mercy.
And this is why I think this is the fascinating thing. You start to broke a world. God makes a perfect world. Sin enters the world, and things go to hell. And so now everyone's doing whatever they want. God brings in the law, and part of the law is eye for an eye. He brings in deserve. He brings in justice. He brings in fair. But just what you said, he's setting up mercy. In other words, that is.
I long to be merciful to you.
So the first thing you would think about with children, we teach them basic right and wrong. Okay, if you do this, there's going to be a punishment. You can't just hurt somebody without consequence. You can't just harm or steal, take whatever, and we want. There's consequence, but you're moving them on the way to a better, more beautiful world. God starts with justice and deserve, but he moves to mercy. I think it was
Paul said it's sort of confusing in one sense the way Paul says it. It's always seemed esoteric to me, but you just made it very simple. In other words, Paul said God gave us the law so we would know what sin was, in essence.
Right.
And he says a lot of other things around it that I don't fully understand. Okay, but it is setting up mercy. It's setting up the cross. It's setting up. It's interesting enough, justice for all.
Right.
Liberty and justice for all through Christ. I was thinking of a song yesterday, Roger. You'll remember this. Wait. And open the life gates that all may come in. Praise the Lord, yep. Let the earth hear his voice. But the words were,
"O come to the Father through Jesus the Son.
O come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory. Great things he's done."
Right.
Okay, so it was to God be the glory, great things he has done. So loved he the world that he gave us his Son, who yielded his life an atonement for sin, and opened the life gate that all may come in. Anyway, it was that beautiful thing of, again, I've said it for years now, Christianity, the way of Christ, is the most inclusive, it's not even religion, that's not the right word, faith in all of the world.
Yeah.
Jesus created this way for all to come in. And it's because he took the justice part so that we could experience mercy.
He got what he didn't deserve. He took what he didn't deserve because he loved mercy. He wanted to extend and grant. And it's really the call, the fundamental call is for us is to live out of mercy, to extend to people.
Yes.
You don't want to, the call of Jesus is you don't want to dominate you don't want what we deserve to be at the center. There's this idea of letting go of what people deserve, what I deserve, even where I realize that here's this one question, it's the wrong, at one point, asking the question, what do I deserve, isn't the best question, because love doesn't ask that. Here's where I'm going. What I know is we were made to love. Love is not concerned with, well, it's not concerned with justice, but I'm not going to decide whether I love you on the basis of whether you deserve it. That's not even on the, I'm just going to love you.
Yeah.
And God.
Otherwise, you could never love your enemies.
Right.
You know, in other words, it's in that crazy place of love, of even what Paul said. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is faith expressing itself through love. You know, because we can get caught up in. I was realizing, even as I'm in Acts now, I've moved through the Gospels. I'm in Acts right now, but I realized they had all these pet doctrines that they adhered to, and if anyone taught something other than that, well, in their case, they wanted to kill them, flog them,
right,
forbid them from teaching them. I was in the passage where John and Peter they've healed this crippled man, and the Sadducees and the temple guard, they're the ones in Jerusalem that basically run the whole temple program. But they also don't believe in resurrection. And it said that they were greatly disturbed that they were teaching. Okay, number one, they're disturbed that someone other than them is teaching the people.
Right.
This is how they maintain control. We're the teachers. We teach the people. We teach them what to do. And second, they were greatly disturbed. They were teaching that Jesus had been resurrected. And it was just, and I just thought, so they had these had their little pet things. They didn't believe in angels and demons. They didn't believe in life after death. They didn't believe, in resurrection. Of course, the Pharisees had their little pet things. They believed in, we do believe in resurrection. And at one point, they even championed Jesus because he had spoken about, they had asked the question about the guy who had 7 wives that all died, or or the woman who had 7 husbands, and whatever it was. And he's like, you have no idea about Scripture or the power of God. Then in the resurrection, there will be no marriage. Right. He basically said, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. And the Pharisees were like, yeah,
we love you, Jesus. Speak on.
But it just made me think, we have all these pet things, all these pet doctrines that this is what's super important to God. And the older I get, and this is what I was sharing on the trail this weekend, I took 2 ladies out in 20 degrees because 4 other ladies bailed. And that's fine because it was cold. But I was just teaching them the way of Christ is the way of love. And I said, it's really simplified my whole life radically. I can't always remember the 10 commandments, but I can remember the single new command that Jesus gave. I want you to love everybody else the same way I've loved you. I'm like, okay, I can remember that. And when I love someone, it frees me to love enemies. It frees me to love people I like. It frees me to love people I don't like. It frees me to love myself, who I don't always like.
And I want to jump on that for a second, because this is where, when we step in and there are points where we sometimes will not let God or others love us because we don't deserve it.
We don't deserve it.
It's not. So I realize sometimes we're keeping a score of how much we're keeping a serving score, and we start feeling guilty if this person is serving me more than I'm serving them.
Yes, I felt that so many times because you cook all the time for us. And we cook almost never for Raj, literally. I mean, it's almost never.
But don't we also, maybe there is an example there of, so we're trying to, are we keeping it even?
We do sort of keep score. And Marlena is real clear that we're behind. And she's wanting me to step up my game.
Well, I gave you an opportunity this week, and you did step up your game.
I did.
You brought a meal over to us on a bad day.
We did, and it was a good meal, and I just happened to be smoking wings that day, and I was glad to share them with Raj. That even those things, I wonder. These are just great. I'm all over the place today, but the providential things of God. I'm not normally cooking wings in the afternoon on a Monday.
Right.
Just not. But I was that day, and there was plenty of them. And I'm like, well, heck yeah, we can make a meal today. That'll be great. And all that worked out very well. But yeah, I do think we track what we deserve in relation to others. I think we track it in relation to our marriage. It gets us sideways with our spouse.
Either way,
she's not treating me the way I deserve,
if I feel
I
like,
don't deserve the way.
If I feel like I'm winning the serving war,
yes,
then that gets me to this arrogant, self-righteous place. But if I'm, feel like I'm losing it, then woe is me.
Jesus says just serve one another in love without keeping track of who served the most.
Right.
In fact, Jesus just said, "Well, the greatest among you will be the servant of all."
Yeah.
Just keep serving. If I do, I will tell you this: if I am keeping track of how well or how often or how much Marlene is serving me, anytime I keep track, I'm almost always going to feel like I'm on the short side of that.
Yeah.
I'm serving more.
Whether it's true or not.
Whether it's true. Oh, it's certainly not true.
Right. I can lose.
Right.
It's funny how I lose count of other ways my wife is serving me that I'm not tracking.
I'm not even seeing it.
I'm not even seeing it.
Not even aware of it.
Right.
Oh, she did a whole load of laundry but I don't know that happened.
Right.
I just magically saw towels in the bathroom. Look at that. Magic towels showed up all clean. How nice.
And oh gosh, you talk about bouncing all over. Because I was just thinking literally this morning.
Doug wants to be in the
that
podcast.
Serving is a part of the nature and heart of God. In other words, God didn't become a servant. God has always been. He's the most humble being in the universe.
Think about that.
So
he's the most powerful being in the universe and the most humble.
He doesn't serve. He doesn't serve in spite of the fact that he's God. He serves because he's God. Jesus takes up the towel at the
exactly what I was going to say.
Lord's,
Andy Stanley has a great message on that called "What do you do when you're the most powerful person in the room?" It's just a great talk on that, and it says that Jesus, knowing what was about to happen, and that God had the Father had put all things under him and in his authority, and all authority. He's the most powerful person in the room. What's the very next thing he does? Strips off his clothing, taking on literally the form of a servant, takes a towel and begins doing the menial slave task of washing the feet of the disciples. And of course, Peter's horrified, in that, because it is so, in their mind, degrading to serve at that level. But you're right. Jesus wasn't just doing that to give them an example. He was. They said, as I've done to you, I want you to do. But it is the nature and character of God to serve. God is love. God is serving.
Well, and Peter's pushback is, I don't deserve.
Right.
No, I'm not going to have you wash. No, that's not. I should be washed. It's that keeping. One of the hardest things about this whole, once you start getting that deserve and whatever, is we start doing what the centurion, I don't deserve for, well, that's not the question. Jesus wants to love you. He wants to heal your servant. God wants to love you. Other people want to love you.
Newsboys had a great song. We don't get what we deserve. It's a real good thing. We get what we don't deserve. It's a real good thing. There's about grace and mercy. We don't get what we do deserve. It's a real good thing. But then we do get what we don't deserve.
Right.
Which is a real good thing. Well, it's just this, it is the beauty and wonder of God. That's why I want everyone to know God, the wonder of God, grace and mercy.
Yeah.
Mercy says I don't get what I deserve. Punishment, separation. And grace says I get stuff that I don't deserve, relationship with God, love. And I've said for, a long time, and he rewards us for the stuff we happen to get right. I'm like, that's just nuts.
That's crazy.
That's just crazy, Bill. So what's our ditty for the day, Raj?
Let's see. Think about serving and not what you be deserving.
Well, grammatically, it's challenged, but I like it. I like it. Let's think about serving, not deserving. Whatever Roger said about you be. I don't even know what that means. Oh.